As much as I work with technology, I can tell you that it is actually an emotional creature, and it's one that is shy. At least in my hands, it's shy. As soon as I want it to work, it doesn't. But that's okay. That's okay. Technology doesn't always have to work. My name is Ficklin, and here's some things I do in my spare time. Okay? I play with fire. This is my version of a concert lighter. It actually shows the waveform of the sound in the room that you hold it up in. And so that whole like, woo moment gets better, gets you kicked out of clubs faster. This is interactive fire. We've been taught our whole life, don't interact with fire. I found a way for people to interact with fire by building a theremin and hooking it to a Rubens tube. I called it the fireman. Gets people to dance around. This is my supermodel scale. Gives you your weight in relative supermodels. We weigh between 90 and 100 pounds. We weigh between 100 and 400 pounds. Normal operation, you get on a scale, the numbers make you happy or sad. You're always happy when you get on a supermodel scale. This is a life-size step sequencer. It is 64 by 64, and an entire crowd has to get together in order to make good sounding music. It's pretty tough. Most of the time it sounds like a casino. This is a 30 by 30 foot electromechanical game of Pong. It runs really slow because in usability tests, we found that if the gantry, which weighs about 300 pounds, moved towards you at game speed, 35 miles per hour in the real world, people didn't want to play the game. So we slowed it down. As a result, the score is always 0-0. I spent 15 years making products for the bell curve market. Most of that was at Frog. Here's some of the products I worked on. They all have very unique user interfaces. One of the first multi-touch computers, a 5-way controlled MP3 player, a heart rate variability monitor, and an Android phone that had 2 screens. We created a whole new not all of these were successes in the market. I left Frog in January, started a company called Argo Design where we're continuing to work on product. So I showed you some of my hobbies and some of my professional work. And the impression I was hoping to make, when I was hoping to endear myself to you, that I do actually put circuits together and stuff like that, and then show that I do work in the professional space. But I think a lot about the computing experience. Now, this is like, I'm here in the home of making. This is our safe harbor. Usually I'm giving this presentation in a boardroom or at a room full of startups or something like that. So you get to be on the fly on the wall for what I'm telling the CEOs of the bell curve manufacturers. All right? We'll just all get into that kind of space. Okay? The computing experience and product design is changing. I like to summarize these changes and call it something that little term I call the other singularity. How many people here know what the singularity is? About half the room. The singularity, we have to know what the singularity is to know what the other singularity is. It's this moment when machine intelligence becomes greater than human intelligence. So we play Jeopardy, we advise on a spaceship, and then it's a human-robot war shortly after that. Ray Kurzweil, often the man who was responsible for this entire philosophical theories. When we talk about the singularity, our ideas often get lofty. Economies that have no money, staying at the bottom of the pool for 20 minutes because you have nanobots in your bloodstream, or backing up your mind and eternal life. Then there is the other singularity. It's kind of like the other cousin, the one that, you know, oh, the other cousin is coming. The other singularity. Let me put this another way. Somewhere on the Star Trek Enterprise, there is a SkyMall catalog. And I'm very interested in what is in that catalog. And that is to say that humans cannot resist putting technology towards mundane or prurient uses, right? Especially when it doesn't cost very much. So this is the exponential technology curve. Ray Kurzweil publishes it. It tracks the cost of computing power over time. Way down here at the end, it's when we have enough processing to replicate the human mind. But there's more to this chart, because when we finish, if all that singularity stuff is up here, when we finish using something, it doesn't just disappear. It goes to the laggards of society. Sometimes in the modern age, it gets retooled and it reappears again. And that's a very interesting space. That's what I call the cast-offs of the exponential technology curve. And they're really one of the key enablers, not just of our movement here, but of the other singularity. Okay? When I want to study something like this in a provocative manner, I throw a party. That's where I like to do interactive installations. So with Frog, we threw a party and we used the other singularity of our theme, and we examined 3 main themes. Technology will create brand new experiences. This is a paint by RGB wall, we called it. This is 2,500 individually addressable, IR-controlled 3-color LED lights. We put little paintbrushes in people's hands and let them draw whatever images they wanted to. And the very familiar concept, I think, in the world, but the interesting thing, this cost about as much as a used car, a bad used car, like a Honda Civic, but not even the cool, boxy one. Next year, it will cost less than that. The year after that, half that. Year after that, half that. The density will go up. Next thing you know, we'll have wallpaper. And you're watching a scary movie, you could have scary wallpaper. Or you could just paint it whatever color you want. It's going to change familiar experiences. This looks like a book, looks like a Gutenberg Bible. It's not the Gutenberg Bible. It's a projector projecting the Gutenberg Bible on blank pages, like this here, that I'm using to control the presentation here. And this is a kind of a familiar concept in the world of interactive art, but we put no interactivity in it whatsoever. You turn the page, you get the next page, and that's it. And why? Well, we priced out all the equipment to do it, and at the time that we did it 2 years ago, it was just about a smidgen more than it would have cost to print out the book. At this point, today, it'd be, depending on the book, it could very well be cheaper than printing out the book. Someday, light will be cheaper than ink. So you might go to the printing press, and they have this as an option, not because it's better, but because it's cheaper. I call this skeuomorphism, by the way. Skeuomorphism is giving real-life properties to digital items in order to make them more intuitive, like, the Apple puts books and makes them look like books. You turn the page. Skeuomorphism is adding digital properties to real-life implements in order to make them less useful. Okay. Sometimes it will replace experiences altogether. This is the one I brought. It's right over here in the courtyard. He's the Zen Garden. And he's a robot that rakes a Zen Garden, which begs the question, should he even exist? Isn't the whole point to rake the garden yourself? Meditate on the placement of the rocks. Well, he didn't cost that much, and he exists now, so we're all going to have to start dealing with this technology showing up and changing experiences and deciding, is it a good thing? Just because we can make it. These are augmented reality porta potties. I say the line between information and too much information is a lot shorter than the line of these porta potties. Notice the clock right at the top there. To prove out the point, I rebuilt this recently. I revisited this project for a very specific purpose. One, that I could do guerrilla installations of it, and I didn't have to have register projection and all kinds of stuff. It's EL wire batteries, all that kind of stuff. Still the same function. 3 years ago, it cost me about $777 per porta potty to augment them. 3 weeks ago, when I rebuilt it, I got it all together and prototyping stuff for $189. I think if I focused on that, I could get that down to $90. If I went to full-scale manufacturing, it'd be $45. So in 3 years, it will be $20, and they'll start showing up at Coachella. You're going to have to deal with it. All right, so there's some more to this area underneath the curve here. All right, and this is the more serious part. This is the interesting part. Yesterday, we had laptops. They were so expensive, they had to justify their cost by having a lot of functions. And today, they've gotten very, very small. We have personal pattern computing, but they're very high cost. They have to have lots and lots of functions. They are babies. We take them everywhere. They cry, and we feed them. We make them little clothes. We dress them. We take them everywhere. They have both our DNA, but mostly they have our digital DNA because we use them to live 2 lives. our real life and our digital life. And we are very into our digital lifestyle. I know they do have this second version of ourself, and it has our DNA in it, literally has our DNA on it. It makes it very awkward when they testify against us in court, which they are being asked to do more specifically. And we should ask the question, if this is a version of me, does it not have the same rights as a citizen as I do? I believe it does. Our digital selves should, and we should build that society. We stare at them always, and because of the pattern of computing, it creates a tunnel. This is almost a biological comparative thing. We go into a mode where we're looking for lines in the brush. We block out the rest of the world, okay? We will immerse ourselves so completely in our digital lifestyle, we will literally walk in front of trains while living it. And I say, really? And you say, really? Oh. And then we say,
really?
That is to say, we will choose digital immersion over even our physical safety, and that is to say, not that this is a bad thing, that is a statement of value. This is how much we value our digital lifestyles and how deeply we immerse ourselves in this world. Now, we want them everywhere because we want our digital lifestyle complete, so we take them everywhere and we've created a life support system for them, and we're using that system to give the very spaces we live in intelligence. So now a computer no longer has to be a single device, okay? It can be many pieces, distributed and all around us. And we're starting to see them break out of the computer itself now. So now there is a new rule. This creates a new possibility. The old thing that used to have has a new purpose. So we can get into a nerd war about this later, but essentially, the original iMac, iBook G4 and the Nest thermostat have the same computer power. But now we take all of that power and we put it towards one task, solving with more elegance, capability, and craft, right? So it just keeps us comfortable in the room and has probably one of the world's best out-of-box. This means that apps, experiences are no longer have to be trapped inside of apps on these devices, right? This is an umbrella. You guys may be familiar with the concept. Many of them have been built before. It has just enough computing power to pull the weather report, and if it's going to rain, the light comes on. You see the light, take it with you. This is a weather app, and you don't have to unlock your phone to get it. Things that used to be apps now sit on our walls. People around this fair make a lot of things for themselves to sit on walls, and some of them are making things for other people to sit on their walls. But these are whole experiences that used to be digital things such as apps. Or they might not even be objects at all. If this computing gets pervasive and ubiquitous enough, it gets intelligent enough, we might be able to create a whole new kind of world for ourselves where the user is allowed to assemble their patterns as opposed to waiting for a bunch of human factors designers to do it at a company. Now this could create, we know this.
Computer, light switch.
Right? We do this all the time in the make movement, but if you have an intelligent enough room, it could do that. This has changed our mission in product design, especially in the digital arena, the gadget area of things. The mission used to be put one computer into one hand for $1,000. The new mission is put 1,000 computers into one home for $1,000, and each one focus on providing a more elegant experience. This is probably resonant and innate at this audience. The mission used to be get your software on their device. The mission is now integrate your experience into their lives. We're tired of sloppy technology. We now want an emotional connection. And here is the good news, and I think especially relevant to this audience, it won't all be done by Google. This is because due to like hypercommunication and the rules, quantum mechanics, we are now living in the quantum subconsciousness, which means you have a moment of inspiration because of quantum entanglement and the 11 dimensions interfolded universe. 11 other people are having that moment of inspiration at the exact same time. Whoever acts on it first wins. We have spawned a new class of product designers. This is the maker class, okay? And we have all these tools from modular microcircuitry to the open source software movement to the modular micro manufacturing. And it has led to the rise of the adhocracies. Adhocracy is a group of people who care an idea about enough that they're willing to steal to execute it. So it used to be you want a Cthulhu pony, you had to learn to sculpt. Now you download it and print it. You want a Nest thermostat? You can make one for about $70. How about a feature for your iPhone? Big companies are not immune to the adhocracies. We'll jailbreak it and make our own feature. How about GPS shoes? GPS Oxfords, weekend project. A lawn care robot. This spreads the seeds. Should have been iRobot's next product. It's a $200 weekend project. Smartphone vending machine. Coffee cup people, seeing a lot of that around the fair today. Car for a pet fish. It's real. Wherever the fish swims, the car goes. How about a real car? This is a $400 million project to create a mass market automobile. I think it's like a Christmas sweater. This is what I want as an electric car. Weekend project by an MIT student. The Chibi cart, which is fantastic. It's really hard for those manufacturers to reach the minds and imagination of a generation who thinks this is an electric car. How about a real electric car? This is the open electric vehicle project. This was created on a weekend for a budget of about, I think, $5,000. Given some time, it'll be street legal. What I'm trying to say here is the makers has created a new class of products, okay? People are pursuing their passion and they're ending up with things that are marketable. Sometimes they're looking for profit, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just looking to change things, like the iWriter, which is now has 10,000 builds. It's a brand new software, right? Some of these have become billion-dollar products, and some of them see the market. But if big bell curves are looking for $1 billion markets, and people are making themselves for their homes, there's a lot of $50 and $100 million markets out there. That is a realization of mass customization. This leads to a dilemma. The dilemma for a professional designer is that you'll be right halfway through a vision project. You've spent a lot of the client's money, and you wake up the next day and it's on YouTube. Or worse, Kickstarter. So we have to change the way we work to approach this new market and this new imagination, this new area where experience is what's being sought after. We got to change the way we design. Adopt a new credo. Think by making, deliver by demo. We should adopt the skill sets of the make movement. And rather than design in vision, we should design in making. You know that whole saying, you get credit for trying. You get credit for making. So that way, if your client says, we're going to launch the first touchscreen printer ever, and this was in 2001, you build a fake one and put users in front of it and see if they can enjoy the use. It means if you are designing a 5-way controlled MP3 player, build yourself a little Soviet chic controller and get it operational so you can see if it's a viable idea. It means if someone asks the question, how would voice recognition help in a car?
Blind spot. Okay. Blind spot.
Make a voice-controlled mirror and find out how it feels. You can check viability real quickly that way. It's like golf or kissing. It's hard to do right, but when you get it right, you know instantly. Okay. A room-sized computer. Someone say, I wanted to know about room-sized computing, and the traditional way is, okay, let's make a fake light bulb, let's make a fake light switch to match provocations. We'll take those things and just use them to break down the imagination and then build a system where you can interact like a housemate.
Turn on the lights. Turn off this light. Turn off that light. Turn on these lights.
Notice how I didn't sound like Jean-Luc Picard when I was doing my voice control. Computer, Earl Grey. Right? So that's the way, adopt these methods and practices. We'll know whether the product is viable. We can pursue new funding models. We can pursue new markets of a smaller size. And we can pursue more our passions and the passions of our users to bring the experiences in their lives. All this is coming together and creating a next pattern of product design, one where things are seamful. They don't have the gaps and the discontinuity, things that are choreographed. We used to speak in terms of color, line, form, and mechanism. Those are still important, but now data, algorithm, agency, policy are new design properties. It's not enough about how it feels, what it does, and how it relates to you. Things that are heads up and present are going to be a big market. Things that are cooperative. This is a pattern of computing that we haven't figured out yet. Right now, it's all stuck on a personal level. Things that mark up the physical world so that we can take our digital lifestyles and bring them into the room without the fear, shame, and frustration of using one of these. Fear is like, hey, I went to the Bahamas. Don't swipe one more time. Shame is when you pull it out to validate someone's IMD lookup. Well, what movie was Matthew Broderick in? These are features that fill a room. And I see a lot of that out here, and that's really exciting because that's what we want to do, out of our pocket into the room. And to a lot of it, it's going to look just like magic. Similar to light switch, this is a concept we're playing with that we call smart dumb things. A little bit of computer vision, a little bit of voice assignment, and you have a home control UI that you build yourself. That way we can go from just being makers to the makers of magic and delight, which I think is what this movement is anyways. At least it's what I feel when I walk around and see everything from flaming octopuses to some guy who's like made an EL wire controller that's this big. All right? And I'll leave you with this final message. For a long time, the professional design world and the product world, we've been creating really big systems. Facebooks, the cloud, the internet. And now is a great time to finding those systems gaps. And really big, great value can come from closing very small gaps. When I show Room E to people, there's one moment near the end that people always smile at. And it's that moment of indecision when you're at the door thinking how much time, pride, money would it cost for me to just leave rather than go back there and turn off that light.
Goodbye.
And it could just work like that. Thank you.